Insight, strategy, conversation, where real estate professionals and industry experts come together to discuss the conversations shaping today's market. Welcome to the Free and Clear Real Estate Podcast by Elevate Title.
What's up, everybody? This is Will Jones back with another episode of the Free and Clear Real Estate Podcast. Today, I have a great guest, Mr. Jean Brunache of Brunache Homes. And today, we're going to be talking about wholesaling and flipping in terms of real estate investing strategy. Welcome to the show, Jean.
Nice being here.
You got to talk up so the people can hear you.
Nice being here, man. I'm happy to be here.
Glad to have you. So we're going to be talking about flipping, wholesaling. I can't really talk about this topic without having you on here because, I did some stuff before, but, after we met, we kind of like started getting really heavy into flipping and wholesaling. Kind of tell people how you got into the business, how long you've been in the business.
Again, Jean Brunache from Brunache Homes. How I started was I had my ex-wife and I, we had a venture that we wanted to start, like a club, like a teen club. Mm-hmm. So we hired some lady from our church, a realtor. But when it was Shannon Butler, very nice lady, and her husband, they came around with nice, cars and stuff, So the way they were moving, I was kind of like a little inspired by it. So after the club venture was done with, I'm like, what am I going to do next? And it just hit me, like, maybe I should try real estate, So I went and got my license and start, playing with it. It's not until, honestly, when I started going to those real estate meetings, like real estate investing meetings, mm-hmm. The one in Boca with David Duick.
That Palm Beach?
Brick.
Oh, Brick. Okay.
Yeah, it's Boca Real Estate Investment Club.
Okay.
Brick. Yeah, with David Duick. When I met him, him and Jim Van Dyke, the wholesaler, they became my mentor, and it started making sense. It wasn't much to it really, because I was already there.
Right.
But when I met them, they kind of
took you under their wing.
Yeah, and then it was like, oh, that's it. You know what I'm saying? It was like having that confidence, knowing somebody who's been there, knowing what they're doing, kind of just let you know that you can do it too.
Okay.
But all along, I was playing around with I lacked the confidence.
Okay.
And I started Brunache Homes. My first home I bought was my former brother-in-law. He was moving out of his home. He needed a home to buy. Mm-hmm. So because my ex told me, my brother's leaving, they have a new baby. So I'm like, okay, let me see what I can do. So I started playing around. And this is when I bought my first home from Jim for $49,000.
$49,000.
$49,000.
That had to be a while ago.
Yeah, Sunrise Gulf Village when he was popping. Back in the days, that was the mecca of wholesaling.
Yep.
So, and then we got our first home, put about 15, 20 in it, and then he was able to move in. And that same home, from a wholesale deal, rehab, and then when I sold it in 2020, it was a bidding war that went all the way to 2320. $320,000 for that same home we bought for $49,000. Mm-hmm. So at that point, I saw the need for both. I can be a wholesaler, and if I like any house, I'll take it and rehab it. Okay. But when I was, people, they distinctively choose to either be a wholesaler or a person who rehabs.
So for the people that don't know, what's the difference, or explain what flipping is, explain what wholesaling is? Because some people use the terms interchangeably. Some people say I'm flipping paper. So a lot of people get mixed messages as far as what we're actually talking about.
I mean, when it comes to flipping, a lot of wholesaler, they refer to taking the house and flip it as flipping, But when we refer to flipping, like what we were,
right,
is flipping to us is we buy a house. We can buy it via different type of form of funding, money, cash, or regular funding. We buy it, we own the house, we take possession of the house, right? And then we start the work, and then we can talk about what comes in details about what goes into rehabbing the property. And in wholesaling is simply you get a house on the contract, right? You find a buyer who's selling their property, like the way we used to do it. We have people calling us saying they want to short sell their house. So we buy the house, we put a contract in, and then eventually the bank say yes, and then now we contracted with the bank. And then eventually we take ownership of the house, and then before we even close on the house, we already have a buyer ready to go. Like, that's why my my former mentor Jim Van Dyke, where she saw was very pivotal. So any house we have, if you cannot sell it directly ourselves, call Jim. He sell it by 9:30 the next day.
He's a really, like, he was probably, and I don't mean this in a drug term, but he probably was the kingpin of real estate investing, flipping, wholesaling in our market.
He was.
I don't know who's anybody that was big.
I mean, I don't know if you've ever been around him. He is a beast, bro.
I never personally met him, but I used to see his flyers all the time. I know people that know him. He did
not have not one personal assistant. He has his phone, his computer, and a room at what's that? Not performance. Independence title. Like Kevin Thatcher. Shout out to Kevin Thatcher from Independence Title. Just let him have a room in his title company. And he just sit there and then just go crazy. I'm telling you. And then he was the most organized person I've ever seen. And I learned a lot from him. And it got to a point, even my email list, I learned shit from Jim. It was exactly the way Jim said it is. The only thing that was different is the logos. My logo versus his, So wholesaling is simply you buy a house, you get a house on the contract, and you find a buyer, and then you literally just flip the contract.
So the end buyer is the one that's paying the seller.
Okay, let me give you a quick little scenario. You get a house on the contract for, I'll give you one, my first flip with Jim. I have this lady who calls me every day, like, Binash, are you going to buy my grandma's house? I'm like, yeah, hold on, because I didn't know what to do with it.
Right.
So I didn't want to mess it up, right? So I went to a conference, David Dewick. He used to have a work conference. He bring a whole bunch of speakers for a weekend from Friday to Sunday. So there I joined with David Dewick and Jim Van Dyke. They do it simultaneously, like a package deal. So I did it with them. So that was on Monday. No, on Tuesday. So Sunday was the last day of the conference. Tuesday I signed up with them. By Thursday I had my first deal. It was a deal that I had lingering around.
Right.
And when I met them, I just called him. He's like, "Oh, I love that deal. I bought it for $50K." Again, like I told you, 9:30 in the morning. Once his list goes out, you get that call.
It's sold.
75, 25K, just like that.
No money out your pocket.
Not even because I used my iPad to do the contract. Not even paper. It was that easy. And from that point on, I'm like, okay, I can see myself doing that, But the wholesale, I got into it because I needed funds. I needed like liquid cash to get to the rehabbing aspect of it, But one thing with me, I had this, like, I looked at the real estate so differently than most people. So I was making deals that never happened before. Like I structured some deals, like the way I bought my house, like
Yep.
Like so I knew it was important to be able to have arguably the two best mentor at their field. Jim Van Dyke, the wholesaler, and David Dewick. David Dewick was my hard money lender. So it makes perfect sense.
So you had the person lending you money and the person that could move the house
And
if you couldn't do it.
And David do it as his mentee. If I'm gonna make a mistake, he tell me no, don't do that. And that's a guy that I would take his advice when it comes to real estate any day. So I was really covered. I really was. So mentor to me is mentorship is very key in my opinion.
We were talking about that on the last episode with my guest. He started a land business and he flips land.
Oh yeah?
He does it on terms. So he'll buy it and then sell it to an end buyer on terms. So they make monthly payments until it's paid off. But the same thing, and I'm not gonna say it on this episode because he didn't say it on his episode, but we talked after the episode, and he paid a pretty penny for his mentorship. I'm talking multiple 5 figures. Like it was up there. And he said without that mentorship, he doesn't think he would be where he is today.
Like if you find a mentor, like a real one, not those guys.
They just take your money.
Yeah. Like they structure some garbage and then send it to you and then whatever. But like for example, for what I know that you and I been through, what you learn in this flip that we had that we call Big Tamarack. Like that only, like me, I had given up. Like once you took over it, the things I've seen you go through, bro, I'm not gonna lie, man. In that particular project that we went through, you become an expert in how to deal with the city.
1000%.
Because with me, I was done with them. But you're like, no, they're actually not that bad. I'm like, bro, I cannot deal with those people. I don't know. It was tough.
I think when you know what you're doing, the people at the city kind of view you differently, and they can't shoo you off because you're asking the right questions, you're speaking the same language.
And then when you're a little bit like persistent, and you're being pleasant, they kind of like that as well too.
Yeah.
Like I'm like that the way you are in Tamarack. That's how I am in the city of Lauderdale. Because there's a whole bunch of ladies there. I just come and praise them, nice with them, and then once I come in,
they love that.
They will, you can come in, baby.
All right. So going off topic or off track a little bit, because I was going to ask you a question, but you brought up Big Tamarack. How do you feel that property was pivotal in your real estate investment career? Because I tell a story about like what went down, what happened, and how like the whole process went.
Like I said before, I'm keen into solving problems, right? Sometimes in solving problems, I get very frustrating, but I know what I need to do, but taking the steps to get to where I need to get usually will get me a little bit crazy. With Big Tamarack, that's how I met your wife. In Georgetown, I don't know if you guys know Georgetown. It was the place of 441 in Lauderdale, the three-story townhouse. I lived there for a while, and they had issues with the Chinese drywall.
Yep.
So during that time, we started the whole action class lawsuit. So ours didn't have it, so we didn't get in. But I know everybody who had it. So some people, they took their money they give them, they left. Some people, they just take the money they give them and renovate the house, whatever. But it was about 8, 9, 10 unit, So I was picking them up, right? And then one of them, I decided to just flip. So when I flipped it, it was I was so impressed with the GCs, a group of people. I'm not gonna name no name, but they were from Hialeah. I met them, but they did such a good job in the flip in Georgetown. So while we were in Georgetown, the agent who bought Georgetown from us, her client was Erica did the loan. That's when I met Erica.
Okay.
So from that point on, from Georgetown, we acquired Big Tamarack at the same time. So they were finishing Georgetown, And then here we go, Big Time. That was my baby, bro.
That was
Like I love that house.
that was the like the next step up,
It was going to be next step for me. It was going to be
right?
right. So I contracted the GC to do Big Time Act for me.
The same ones from Hialeah that did
From
Georgetown.
Hialeah, the one that was currently finishing Georgetown. So I'm like, they did so well, let's do it. So I started making payments, and then he was like, "Yeah, I'm just want to focus on Georgetown to finish it out, and I'll go there, you know." And after a while, he was taking longer now to finish Georgetown, and I started seeing some disparities I didn't like. And when those feelings start happening, you know what's going on. And then not showing, taking other jobs now, start not being consistent on my job or coming in around like 4 o'clock and leave at 7.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I know that I was in some type of trouble, but I was 37,500 in already. So when we were finished with Georgetown, I came up. I told them, so when are you going to start on Big Tamarack? He told me Monday, and from that Monday, I never saw him again. He never showed up, and I was over leveraged. You know, at the time I had like 4 properties I was flipping simultaneously, and I was just picking up my own home that I flipped
Mm-hmm.
and stuff. Um, so I got in trouble.
So he ran off with 40,000, almost
Like
40,000.
roughly 40,000 he ran off with, and I needed that money to finish the project.
And that's where I came
And that's when I don't know whose ideas was it. If it was your wife's ideas, I don't know how that come about. It was again solving problems.
I think she might have told me that the situation that happened, and we were flipping Little Tamarack at the time.
And I sold you Little
And
Tamarack.
you sold us Little Tamarack, so we flipped that, and I had the bug. I was like, oh, I want to do this. I was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
You bought some windows.
And she told me you were in trouble. So I was like, let's do it. We looked at the numbers and it made sense. The problem was, and I knew this going into it, I think, what did they do? They demoed the house.
They demoed the house fully and
that's
they
it.
left.
And left. So I knew where it was, but I knew we had to do permits because in Tamarack, doing something without permits, almost impossible.
Yes, it's impossible.
So, and I knew from the beginning we were way ahead of the schedule in Little Tamarack, but if the permits came and we had to flip both at the same time, I knew we would be in trouble because we paid for Little Tamarack with our own cash.
Mm-hmm.
There was no hard money loan. There was nothing. It was our money that we had saved. We used a HELOC from that my dad had on his house, and I knew we were going to tap out. So all the money we had was budgeted for Little Tamarack. So I was like, all right, we finished Little Tamarack because we're 6 months ahead of the other one. We can sell it, we'll cash out, and then we'll have the money to finish there.
We got time.
Yeah. Well, if you ever dealt with the city of Tamarack, sometimes it doesn't go as smooth as possible. So what happened was both permits ended up getting approved at the same time, and then we ended up getting stuck. But we finished the house, and it sold. We didn't lose money. We didn't make a lot, but I saved you out of a $40,000 loss. And
oh no, I lost that money.
Yeah, you
but
did.
But the problem is what you did to me, save for me, is the relationship I have with my mentor, David Duick, because he was in the loan, because that was his hard money lending that did that funded that deal for me, and I could not jeopardize that type of relationship,
Right.
So that saved me that, and he saved me the carrying cost because you took over that cost from me. And again, I felt you, bro, because you call me sometimes. We talk. I felt every single word, but I'm like, that's no problem. But it was some dark nights, man.
It was even with us, even though we salvaged the deal and a beautiful property, like
probably one of the best flips I've seen.
Came out beautiful, like everything went smooth. I'm gonna say that's probably one of my best flips as far as experience. I learned how to read plans. I sat with the inspectors at the city. He was like, "This is what this means. This is what that means. This is how you read this. This is what you're looking for. We had an electrician that kind of screwed us over. He didn't even know how to read the plans. And I'm telling him, because I had met with the inspector, this is wrong. No, this is not wrong, my brother. This is not wrong. I said, my God, the inspector said this is wrong. I think he had the electrical outlets like this high off the floor. And I'm like, that's not where they're supposed to be. Yes.
And that's also the first flip I saw that they made you drill holes into the counter and do the
pop
out. Yeah, first time I've seen that.
Yep. Because the outlets on the counter have to be, I think, 12 inches apart, no more than 18 inches apart in any kitchen space. Yeah. And they wouldn't pass it in the island without no electricity. But these are things that you learn that they don't tell you on the TV shows, or people that have never done it.
They never do. They never see it.
They didn't tell you. So I think that property was one that helped me understand like the details of flipping, not just going to buy some pretty floors and pretty countertops and then making it look TV ready, but like getting down and dirty. And the electrician, we had to get rid of the electrician. And when we hired another electrician, I literally sat there. He used to get mad at me because I was over his shoulder like this.
Making sure, because
not even making sure. I want to see what you're doing. So if something ever happens, I know what needs to be done. And that, to this day, I still use that guy. And to this day, he come to my house to do something, I'm still looking over his shoulder.
Yeah.
Like, my brother, like, really? I said, hey, I never seen you do this. I want to know what's going on. When you know what's going on, nobody can screw you over.
Yeah.
And tell you, oh, it charged me $50 to change electrical socket. It take 2 minutes. It's not worth $50.
Yeah.
But if you don't know, you don't know.
You don't know.
All right. So that was a little tangent that we went on. That was a little bit off course, but when we get together,
it's gonna be a few of those.
It's gonna be a few of those. So we explained what flipping is. We explained what wholesaling is. If you had to start right now, which one you going with, and why?
Is it based on me being experienced or ready to go?
Knowing what you know now.
Oh.
If you said, you know what, I'm starting this thing all over with the knowledge that I have, where you gonna start?
I will start flipping,
Really?
buying and rehabbing. But what I would do though is I will focus on building new homes, like just building from scratch.
Why flipping over wholesaling?
Wholesaling, I think it's still a little tough now, but I did see some movement in the market, right? Because the market has to be a certain way. I know some wholesalers who still grinding every day and they still rocking.
It's harder though.
It's a lot harder.
Since COVID and the prices went up and the bidding wars and people moving from Cali and New York and all these places, like
it's a little tougher, But the people who's been doing it religiously, they're still making it.
Successful.
Yeah, but with me, I wasn't on that level, but I was working up to that point, right? Where I created a lane where I can get my own deals, right? And I have a mentor. If I get in trouble, I cannot sell it. I just sell it. I mean, if we tell some stories about what happened then yeah, wholesaling would make more sense. Because remember that deal we did? We made $30,000.
30,000
in phone calls.
And remember when it almost blew up because the buyer went to the house the day of closing
and saw it,
and the seller wouldn't let him in. And he was like, "What are you talking about? I paid whatever $650 for this house. What do you mean you're not gonna let me in?" And she laughed in his face. It was like, "What do you mean $650? I sold this house for $620." And they called and started blowing up and wanted to threaten the deal. And I was like, "You in the contract, buddy."
And I remember your wife. I was talking to you when you were explaining to me what's going on, and I heard your wife in the background. Why did you have to go for so much money? But
it's funny because people that don't wholesale, they always ask that question. Why are you going for so much money? But don't count my pockets. I priced the deal for it to make sense to an investor.
That was my pet peeve.
Yeah, I priced the deal so it makes sense for everybody. So either the deal makes sense for you or it doesn't make sense for you. But if I get the house for $1 and I sell it to you for $1 million, and you can flip it and make 2 million out of it, what difference does it make what I
I
make?
don't care if you're making 2 million.
I don't care.
So when we agree on 1 million, you thought that million worked for you, and the buyer, I mean the seller,
Said
she
that
said $1 was fine
worked.
for her.
Exactly.
So we went with that.
Correct.
So once they figure out that you're making more money than they expected for you to make, they want to blow it up. Although they got what they wanted,
Correct.
but now they're counting your money. To
Correct.
me, like I told you before, one thing I look for when I'm dealing with somebody for the first time, if that person is counting my money.
Mhm.
If you're counting money I'm getting, there's some type of character flaw there.
Yeah.
It usually is, and I cannot deal with that. Like if you told me you want 5,000, I give you 5,000. What does it matter if I make 2 million?
You asked for what you wanted.
It wasn't contingent upon how much money I make. It was simply you want 5,000, I give you 5,000.
Right.
And now whatever I make, but they don't know sometimes we don't make no money. Like I put the house on the contract. Like I went on the contract for 100,000. I thought I can sell it for 110. Now somebody offered me 103. Now I couldn't sell it myself, so I didn't get the extra 3. Now I had to get one of my mentor or some other wholesaler sell it. Now that 3,000 is breaking to like 7 different people. I'm bringing in $700.
I've seen deals like that.
Yeah.
Send 5,000 to this person, 5,000 to this person, 10,000 to this person, 20,000 to me.
Yeah, because I send it to this person, that person send it to this person, and they all have to get a cut.
It's like a daisy chain.
You know,
everybody got to get their piece.
It was tough, man. I mean, in regards to wholesaling back then, it was such an easy thing because you can move 6 properties and you're making 10,000 on each weekly. And all we do is move. Like me, I never use papers. I just use my little iPad back then, And
that's it, done.
And send them off. And I'll meet with somebody and have them sign it with their fingers, and we're done. So, but in terms of flipping, it was a lot of work, man.
And that's the thing for me. Like I love flipping houses. Like every time we buy,
you like windows.
Shut up. Every time we buy a house, I'm like, I go look at the house and I'm like, what can I do? Can I tear this wall down? Can I do this? Can I do that? Like the wheels start spinning. Like that excites me. But it's a lot of stress. It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of time. It takes a lot. Whereas wholesaling, like you said, I don't have to use paper. I make a phone call and you talking 30,000, 10,000, 15,000. The biggest wholesale deal I've done was 100,000.
Gee.
It took me 6 weeks. And the only reason it took me that long is because I paid for the probate because when the mother died, like it didn't transfer properly.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to go do probate. So they owed taxes and they had to go through probate. So I said, I'll pay for the taxes or the probate. You pick, I'll take whichever one, it don't matter. So after I paid for the probate, it went from 100 to 97,000.
Which house was that?
It was in
Fort Lauderdale, right?
Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah, you told me about that.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Fort Lauderdale.
You could just send me something. I could do
100,000 in 6 weeks. And I literally a couple phone calls, a couple of emails to the attorney for the probate, and it's done. So for me, having that fast money, fast access to cash, wholesaling 1,000%. Yeah. But if you're talking about a passion project, I'm flipping all day.
Let me tell you the reason why I do not even want to wholesale no more. I want to acquire the house through wholesaling, be advertise as a wholesaler, mm-hmm. and get the house, and then because like I told you, Sunrise Grove Village was the mecca for me. That was my.
No, my you had something was in Sunrise Grove Village. It was gone as soon as it hit the market.
It goes so quickly because mm-hmm. the Caribbean community, they love that area, mm-hmm. And I enjoyed it. But after I sold the last house, I told you we bought for 49, put 15 in it, like Billion War at 320 in 2020. We bought it. We bought it. I want to say 08. No. 2012. We bought it 13. Sold 2020. Right during COVID. We had to wear masks to go to all this thing, right? And I'm like, I wholesale probably 13 of them. Can you imagine if I kept all 13?
Yeah.
And that's why right now, where I am now, like the question was,
But you also knowing what you know now is
yeah,
like saying, okay, well, I can predict the market is going to do this. Where in wholesaling, I'm cashing out regardless of what the market does. The market could tank, I'm good. The market could explode, I'm still good.
I mean, I do understand because I do both, right? But right here, right now, the feeling I feel right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like 13 of those homes, you're buying from 50K to 70K. That will even nowadays even more now. 2020, right? 6 years ago, I
That's
bought it for
probably worth
three,
600,000 now.
and this is where I am now in terms. If there's any tweaks, any little thing that happened in the market, we have a little dip. I'm able to acquire some. I don't think I want to rehab, so I'm keep it.
So
That's why I'm going now.
I'll tell you why I feel this way. Because we bought a house 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago. It'd be 3 years in January in Port Charlotte.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Partner of mine, supposed to be in and out 90 days. We're good. Lipstick on a pig. We're good.
Mm-hmm.
Go in, everything going smooth. About 60, 70 days in, we're about to finish. The neighbor across the street, Snowbird, not even here full time, call the city. They're doing work on the house with no permits. City come, stick the red tag on the door, got to stop working. Permit process, plans, engineer, the whole nine. Took us about a year to finish it with permits and everything. By that time, the market had dropped $70,000. To this
Wow.
day, we still have the house.
You should have it now.
Still have it right now.
Wow.
We've been under contract 3-4 times. We were just under contract a couple months ago to sell it. The day before closing, I was out of town for a basketball tournament with my son, and my agent called me. He's like, the buyer's backing out the deal. I said, what are you talking about? It's the day before closing. He said something about he lost his job over the weekend and he's not closing.
Oh my Lord.
So I called the lender and I'm like, hey, what's the story? He's like, I don't know. He didn't get me straight. He says he thinks he's about to lose his job. I said, well, he's telling the agents he lost his job. So which one is it? Did he lose it? Did he not lose it? He's like, I don't know. Let me talk to him. He calls him back. He's like, yeah, he's not moving forward. He was so ready to not move forward, he didn't even fight for his escrow deposit.
Like,
he signed the release and cancellation. He signed it over to us, and I'm done.
And you guys kept the deposit
the day before closing.
Wow, you told me about the property too, man.
So
and you even sent it to me.
That one we lost money on. We lost money on one in Hollywood Hills. So when you take losses, it hurt. And sometimes, like, I'm gonna tell you, like, this one is whatever, but that one from Hollywood Hills, that one was hard to get over. To this day, I'm not over that.
Big time, I still got me shook.
You got that one that you question yourself, like, and do I know what I'm doing? Am I running numbers right? Like, how did I miss something?
Yeah.
So how did I miss it so bad?
You remember my budget strategy?
25,000.
No, you was 35.
Oh, 35.
Everything
35. 1,500 square foot house, $35,000. 6,000 square foot house, $35,000. Needs a window and a roof, $35,000. Everything was $35,000.
But like you, every house, it can be the perfect house. First thing you're going to itemize is how much it's going to cost for the windows. It could have shutters. It doesn't matter. Windows.
Listen, when you buy the 1970s houses with the jealousy windows that you got to crank like this, and I'll give you a perfect example of why windows are important. Big Tamarack.
Okay.
Remember when we sold it? Remember what happened?
No, we're not.
As soon as we put it on the market, what happened? Hurricane came.
It was already under contract.
It was under contract, and the hurricane came.
What happened to the inside of the house? Yeah. Okay.
The wind blew them old 1950s windows open, and it flooded the sunroom,
entire sunroom,
and it ruined the entire flooring in the sunroom. Had we had impact windows, no rain would have came in the house. But this is why, and I think when people start really digging into it and looking at which one should I do, a lot of people will or should start with wholesaling because it's less
Mhm.
risk involved. There's less problems that can
Definitely less
occur.
risk.
It's you get in, you get out. Like Big Tamarack, the windows failed, the floor got messed up, and then remember there was that tree in the backyard, that big huge
A big
oak
old tree
tree
that
that
fell.
fell into the neighbor's
Yeah.
house. And then
And they
she
want
came over because
they
they wanted us to pay for it.
Yeah, yeah.
And we thought the whole time it was on our property and we were just avoiding to pay. And we had to go get the survey. And I remember calling the neighbor over with the measuring
With the
tape.
survey.
And I had the survey and I said, look, it says 16 feet. And I measured it. I said, my line stops right here. I don't know whose it is. And I got the view from the aerial view
Mhm.
from BCPA showing like the property lines. And I said, listen, that tree not on my property. I don't know whose it is, but you have to go through your insurance. But what would have happened if that tree was 10 feet closer to my property and it fell on her house?
Or fell on our house.
Fell on her house.
Or it fell on your house.
Or even fell on our house.
As we were about to,
As we were
under contract.
As we were under contract about to close.
Because I remember you told me to come out and help out to.
Yep. I had a flip in Lauderdale Lakes that it flooded the day of closing. The buyer goes to do the final walkthrough and had a sunken living room full of water the day of closing.
Man, Sunrise next to the swap shop, close to the swap shop. I think we call that the house Black Carpet.
Black carpet. I
Yeah.
read that.
The house was so bad, the carpet was black. We call it Black Carpet. 5-bedroom, 2-bath, easy. It was an easy flip. I flipped the house in 3 weeks. 3 weeks from rip out the floors, new plumbing, new electrical, like rewired everything.
Sorry, city.
I'm telling you, man. We got on the contract. The only thing that came back they needed us to do was they needed us to either redo the shed or knock it down because it's deemed unsafe.
Mhm.
Easy. Saturday morning, me and my guy, I made him there to knock down the shed. And when I pulled up, I had this uneasy feeling. Like I'm telling you, I knew something was wrong, but I couldn't tell what was wrong.
This
So-
the one where they broke into the house?
Yes, man. So I'm over there just chilling, trying to fight that feeling. 'Cause I'm feeling good, but something is telling me to
Something's
stop feeling good because you're not supposed to. And he packed the truck. So I think he had a few pieces left and something just told me to turn around. I turned because my head was next to the window. I see it's broken. I'm like, so I went around to open the door. I could not open the door because the person who broke into my house changed the lock of the house that I owned that's under contract. Oh man, I lost it, bro. So when that happened, I forgot how I got. Oh, the back door has a different key, so I went and opened the back door, so I got in. So remember that brilliant idea that I have about plug and protect.
Mhm.
When I first started seeing those things about it,
Mhm.
I'm like, I just buy one and put it there. There's a few sensors, so if somebody
Yep.
come in, they can see or they can tell.
Right.
This guy broke into the house, rip out my plug and protect security system, threw it out, and then left all his stuff in there. I was so upset.
Didn't he turn the power on in his name?
And his name, to a point that I could not even turn it back on to my name because they said no, he has. I'm like, what?
He said, I own the house.
So what I did, that was during the time, we had squatter law type, we couldn't do certain things. So I called the cops. So the cop pulled up, like, why don't you just throw this stuff out? I'm like, I thought I'm not allowed to, sir. Because per squatter law, we're not allowed to touch
Right.
things that's in there. And he was like, oh no, that's done with. That was January. As of January 3rd, the law changed where if you can prove to me that you own the house, I'm like, BCPA, own it.
Me, pay my license, everything.
Yeah, we're good to go. He's like, yeah, just get them out. So I took everything. I was so upset, man. Like usually I would be a little bit sympathetic, like, oh, no, not this time. Because he took out my plug and protect and threw it away. I was hurt, bro. So and that's some of the things that we go through, man. That people don't it's not advertised.
I've woken up and I don't dream a lot. My wife says I do, but if I do, I don't remember. So I like when I have properties under contract and they're ready and they're on the market. Like I've had nightmares, waking up like people just coming in, destroying the house, throwing paint on the floor, knocking down walls. Like it's a stressful feeling. I've never had that in wholesaling.
Do you remember? Do you remember Sunrise when I got my pool fixed? The pool kept turning,
Mm-mm.
right? So I got the pool. I sent a guy to fix it. So I just stopped by real quick to see if he did. So I saw him when I'm back. I saw him did it. I'm like, okay, good. So let me back up. I'm done. I'm good. As I'm backing up. So I turn up real quick. I see water pooling out from the front door. Sir, I just knew something went wrong. So I'm thinking some pipe burst or something. So I open the door. The entire floors are full with water, flooding. You know what's flooding? Because I have no appliances. They broke to the back door and moved me out. Took the entire appliances. They ripped out the
The fridge line.
line, and then they just left it. The only thing they left because they didn't have time to unscrew it was the microwave because it was mounted on.
Right.
Again, under contract. You
You sure you want to flip?
no, I'm telling you, I want to buy and flip it and hold it.
And hold it.
So I don't have to worry about that stress to kind of get it out so quickly and hold as much as I can, and then at some point for retirement I can start knocking them off. Yeah. So
What's the biggest myth people or you've heard or people say when it comes to wholesaling versus
I mean, I
flipping?
think it's the same. I think they have the same myth, right? They just flippers, like people who rehabs thinks that flipper has it easy, and people who flips thinks that who wholesale thinks the flippers have it easy. They're just under the impression that if you rehab, you make a lot more money, and wholesalers don't even know. They probably come out with a lot more,
If they
like
flip
pound for pound in terms of the hour worked. They probably do a lot better than people who rehab. I think they both think it's easier for the other.
so you think cost per hour wholesalers win?
100%, especially our experiences. Because I probably have I think one deal I did that was easy. It was like my ex father-in-law just went, put some painting, do a little framing outside the door. Now we put it back on the market, we make a quick 15. It was a wholesale with a light, like
Pig, lipstick on a pig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And me and David do it. We split that. We partnered on that.
So the last few years, probably the last decade or so, you have Flipper Flop and all these like TV shows and stuff like that. Now I always say like when you start seeing TV shows about something, it's too late to jump in.
Yeah, that's true.
So having said that, what is the cost? What is the cost difference between the two? Or not between the two, but what's the cost difference in flipping that is the actual cost of flipping versus what you see on TV? Because on TV they say, oh, we bought the house for 200,000 and we put 30,000 in and minus commissions, we walk away with $70,000.
I don't even know where to get these numbers from, man. Because I mean, I'm just not used to that.
Because I've never seen a show talk about holding costs, electricity, taxes,
The holding cost.
insurance. Most hard money lenders want you to carry insurance. They never include
If you don't
that.
have insurance, you don't get the loan. And if insurance lapse, you're in violation of the loan.
Correct.
So I never heard of those before. And then with me, I think that's one thing when I was really heavy, like my cousin from Maryland used to always tell me my numbers are not too, because he's a number guy, but he can tell that I was not, But I mean, I had to make the numbers work for me in my head for me to even move on. If not, I would not have done anything. But I think I did about 33 or 34 flips in wholesale.
Mhm.
I think I probably should have done about a good 12. I'm not lying. Because a lot of them I make money about 21,000, 22,000. Even those, if anything
If anything goes wrong,
had happened, it's done. That 22,000, and you flip, you make 12,000, and people don't understand. You make 12,000 on a flip, you're gonna realize you're gonna feel like what am I? Be like, it's 12,000. I'm like, dude, you don't understand the amount of work.
when you wholesale and you make 12,000 in 3 weeks,
Perfect day.
and you make a couple phone calls and you send out a couple emails, that's great. But when you make $12,000 and you've shelled out 250, 300,000 for the mortgage, another 75,000 for the rehab, you spend 3 months working on it, another 2 months selling it to make $12,000. Like, what is your, like, you could have went to Publix and worked for 4 months and probably made the same amount of money.
I had a house in North Miami. I recorded 102 trips back and forth. Yeah.
And
So
you lived up north in Broward.
yeah, I live in Broward. Not only that, I would be leaving from work in Pompano, and from work I had to shoot down every day because my GCs, my contractors wasn't, they weren't people you have to stay on top of.
Mm-hmm.
They have to know that you're coming back at the end of the day.
That's something else people don't talk about.
Like
Contractors.
The most important things is the contractor, because that's when a little bit of peace of mind will come in, will play a factor, right? Because if you have a guy that you know you can trust that will do the work, that's trustworthy, which I don't think in that industry there's too many of them. I know one of them.
It's hard.
I know one.
It's super hard.
Clemente. For me.
Extra.
For me.
Well, that's good. He's for you, because
yeah,
not for me.
But in terms of being like, he's not gonna lie, right? See, he's telling you extra.
He's not gonna lie because he's gonna charge you extra.
Yeah. But that's one guy that I know I met. One of them. I dealt with plumbers, electrician, like tire person.
There's very few people that I started flipping with that I still use to this day.
Do you remember the floor guy you refer me to?
Floor guy.
The wood flooring.
What's his name?
The one like I copied your house exactly.
That installed it, or
the group of guy who installed it, right?
That did my floor.
They did your floor.
In my house now?
No, not in your house now, because you already. They tried to lie to you, but you called your credit card company.
Oh yes,
that company.
Yes.
Yeah, they were good to me. They were good to you at first, but like the house that you had, the one you sold last time.
That was in Miramar.
Yeah, the Miramar one.
Yeah,
I know. Yeah, they started out very nice because they come in one day and just knock out everything you do, and they screw you over at one point. But they always start good and then they hit you up.
That's the thing. I've yet to see somebody that's going to be consistent from the time you meet them 5-10 years down the road. At some point, they all show you a shiftier side and do something different. And that's the thing. That's the biggest thing. So my opinion, not my opinion, but you don't make money selling the house. You make the money when you buy the house. If I buy a house for $1, regardless of what happens to the market, I'm gonna be able to make money.
I agree.
But some people overpay because they want to buy a flip. They have to have a flip. They get into a bidding war and they overpay, and then they try to cut back on the finishes, on the rehab, on the labor, and then it ended up costing you because now you're trying to sell a subpar product for full retail value.
Like my mentor said, like David Duick says, write the check. just get it done quickly and get it put on the market. Yeah. So
I go by these three rules when I look at contractors. It's cheap, fast, and good. But you're only gonna get two. So if it's cheap and fast, it ain't gonna be good.
Yeah, I agree.
If it's fast and good, it ain't gonna be cheap.
You just gotta make sure the good tie in within your budget. It'll make sense, because if it's not good, you have some problems sometimes selling it.
Right. And you have to pay for it twice.
And again, I also think one main difference as well with flippers and wholesalers is people who rehab, they get attached. Like flippers, they don't. I mean, wholesalers, they just buy the house. They never see it. So they never have time to actually get emotional about it. They just buy it. The same paper they sign, they have somebody sign it, and they're done with it.
That's it.
You know.
On to the next one.
But with flipping, man, you gotta do this, do that. I ain't gonna lie, I was a little bit into it too, like that. I had to get it done a certain way. I have to knock out walls. You know, I have to.
So to me, the design and the layout and knocking down walls and stuff like that, that doesn't really affect it. That is catering to the market that we live in now. But you'll see people, they'll look at the flooring, for example, and they say, you know what? I like this beige color floor, but this beige color floor looks like it's better quality, but it's $2 more. And they'll pay the $2 more
Just to get
the perceived contrast. Yeah, exactly. But at the end of the day, the person you're selling to the house to might not like that flooring. So you're spending that extra $2 a square foot when they're going to come in and change it to chocolate floors anyway.
Yeah.
So you have to put the cheapest, good looking quality. I'm not going to say cheapest as in like quality, but try to find something that looks good, that's quality. I mean, that fits the budget.
I mean, to me, I think that's one of your biggest strengths, somewhat, because you do expensive stuff. But
again,
you do find a way.
If I'm flipping $1 million house,
yeah, you do.
I'm gonna put expensive stuff in there.
Yeah, because me personally, if I'm designing my home, I will call you 100%.
Or just copy.
I just go to your house
and then copy it.
And just copy it, paste
like you've done before.
I've done before. Like literally, my house I owned for about 9-10 years was a replica of the house you own at some point.
I have a friend right now. His house is just like my house.
Now?
Right now.
Oh, God.
Same countertop, same color cabinets, same exact flooring, exact same thing.
Wow.
Exact same thing.
No, you do have like I mean, again, even if I'm talking to you, you tell me you're going to do this, I'm like, oh, I don't think I would ever do that until you lay it out and then you're able to see it. Me, I don't see things. Like if you don't show it to me, there's nothing I can do. Like, I cannot envision what it's going to look like prior to me seeing it.
I partnered on a deal with my hard money lender in North Miami, and you know the tile that has like the crazy designs, and you put them together and they replicate each other. It's almost, I can't think of the name of it. You see it like in Turkey, like
it looks like almost like some type of 3D type pattern.
Right, right. And so he paid for everything, and then he bought the house. He got his money back. We split the rehab cost 50-50, and we split the cost. No, he paid for the house. I paid for the material, and we split the profit 50-50. So when I did the bathroom, I didn't tell him nothing. I was running the rehab. And when he came to the open house and saw the bathroom, he was like, what is this shit right here? He's like, there's no way people want to buy this. This is so ugly. And he was mad. I said, hey, don't worry. I know what I'm doing. I got it. I got it. Don't worry. No, nobody's going to buy this house. I said, okay. When they buy this house, you can apologize. We did the open house contract first day under contract.
I went to that open house.
And he's like, man, I can't believe it. You know what? You're right. I can't believe it.
I remember the first time I ever seen showers coming through the ceiling was it at one of your son? No, not even your son. It was your
guest room?
No, not guest. It was like the one in the hallways.
Oh, like the hallway bathroom.
Yeah, not even guest, like the what people use when they in the living room. I'm like, why? And then when I would get my house,
you got the same thing. I'm telling you, like I love designing houses. Like I love that part. But for me, at this stage, give me the money quick.
Yeah.
Give me the money quick.
Yeah, right now I don't wanna have to do a wholesale deal for make 7, 8, 9,000, and then in a month it's gone. So I have to keep chasing it. You know, I want to be a little bit more structured. You know, I'm currently engaged.
Congratulations.
Appreciate it, man. You know, shout out to my fiance. I kind of want to be.
My condolences.
I'm not gonna say what I really was, but yeah, man, I kind of want to, take care of the babies, and still structured. If I do a flip here and there, it might be one I picked up that looks easy,
Mm-hmm.
perfect area, maybe not too much work. Even if it requires a lot of work, I'm still equipped to do it.
Right.
But it has to make a lot of sense in that regard. Flip it, keep it, and rent it.
So in this market right now, do you think flipping is better than wholesaling or wholesaling better than flipping?
I think there's a lot of things going on. Like there's still people buying for some reason, And I mean, in regards to flipping, I mean with wholesaling, if you able to wholesale, that's where you really should be. If you're able to do it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because there's some wholesalers who are coming in the market right now. They won't be able to make a dent because they probably don't have the network and the consistency that it takes for you to actually break through. Because it gets to a point, you're gonna be dead in the water for a while, and once you break through, for some reason, everybody now sees you.
And it comes in droves.
It comes, but if you can sustain those down moments and break through, I think wholesaling. I would advise people to wholesale. But with me, where I am now, I know what both takes. Where I want to go, I'm planning on going in my life, I want to just
Flipping
stay
it.
steady. Not even flipping, just buy and hold. Mm-hmm.
So another benefit of wholesaling is you don't have to be local.
So that's one thing I've never done. I've never done that.
So
you've done that before?
Me and a partner of mine, we for about 2 years we had a wholesaling company, and we did Detroit, Charlotte, Texas. We did a lot of work in Ohio, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Akron. I remember the first house we sold in Detroit. We bought it for $12,000. We sold it for $19,000. I didn't talk to the buyer till the day before closing. You know how I sold the house? Facebook Marketplace.
Wow.
One ad, Facebook Marketplace.
I heard that happen before, but I never met somebody who did that. I didn't know you did that.
Never even talked to the guy till the day before closing. But you got to be careful when you're not local, because just like if you were flipping a house and you couldn't go check on the contractors, the exact same thing can happen in wholesaling.
Let me ask you a question. Why haven't you gotten into mentoring? Because I'm not gonna lie, bro.
Time.
You could be the mentor. Because the mentors I have, they have not gone through anything we went through. Like, maybe you should need to look into that a little bit.
I'll let you be my biz dev rep.
I don't know what that is, but yeah.
You just go bring me the people and I'll pay you a salary.
But but you need that though. You'll need that, like people affiliated with you to bring you more. You just give them a cut.
Exactly.
But
I'll tell you a funny story. It's actually a nightmare story. We had we were wholesaling a house in St. Louis. Never forget this.
You're talking about
St. Louis. So we good. We get the house under contract. We start marketing the house. Guys send us pictures, everything. We blasting it out. Somebody call, hey, I'm interested in the house. Okay, boom. Here's the instructions. Go see it. Boom. Guy calls us back. He's like, hey, is this a joke? I said, what do you mean is this a joke? He said, there's no house here. I said, are you at the right address?
Are you serious?
He said, yeah, I'm at the right address. There's no house here. I said, what do you mean there's no house here? He's like, there was a house here, but there's no house here. So he sends us pictures. So now I'm looking at the picture that he sent us to the pictures that the owner sent us, and I'm looking, and the way that the owner took it, he was standing on the left side of the house, and the picture was going to the right. So I can see the neighbor's house. So when I'm looking at the two pictures, he took a picture from the exact same angle. So I recognize the neighbor's house.
So that's the house that you thought.
We were under contract for a house that didn't exist.
Wow. Somebody did that?
So I called the owner and I'm like, hey, why didn't you tell us there's no house there? He said, what are you talking about? I said, there's no house there. Check your text message. I just sent you the picture. Oh, wow. I don't know what happened. The last time I was there was a house there. Maybe you thought to tell us that the last time you checked, there was a house there. And it had been going for so long that you saw the outline of the foundation, but the grass had started growing back. So the house had been going for months. And he tried to sell it to us.
Wow.
We've had wholesalers try to sneak us out of deals in Detroit. Like wholesaling, like literally, she stole probably 10,000 from us on that deal. We had one in Texas, and this one I learned when I was working for the investors here. We were under contract for the house, but another wholesaler came in, gave the seller another offer, and then he went and put a notice of memorandum
Wow.
with the county.
Wow.
So there's nothing. Once you put the notice of memorandum and record it, that's basically saying I have interest in this house along with the owner. So when the owner go to sell it and run the title search, my name come up. And now you have to come settle with me if you want to buy this house.
Wow. Jesus.
So it can be good because you can move around the different markets, but you also got to be careful to make sure that you set up the right people to make sure they have your best interest.
There's this wonderful lady I met a few years back, maybe 4 years ago. She was wholesaling a property on the fashion district in Miami? Is that
Design district?
Design district.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like a triplex that have houses on the bottom and on top or whatever. I forgot how many units it was. Is it 4 units? 2 on the bottom, 2 up top or something like that. And she was selling, but I think he had fire damage in one part. So I went with my cousin to see it. So he was like, I want it because the area is perfect. The house next to it is going for so much more money, and and he has money to deal with it. But he was a little apprehensive in regards to how much work and how long it's going to take.
Mm-hmm.
So he called somebody that he knows, and the guy came to see it. But I didn't go with him. I just sent him the address, right. And he sent me a video. He was like, "What is this?" I'm like, "You should see a big old house that have fire damage in the back." He was like, "There's no house here." I'm like, "No." I'm telling you, it was like maybe 7 days, sir. I'm telling you. The city knocked down the house, clear and level the land where grass was growing already. It was so nicely done. It seemed like they sprinkle like grass seeds because there's no way it goes that quick. It was perfectly
done,
cleared out within 7 days. And then the lady who was selling me the house, she didn't even know because she was wholesaling it.
Oh, they probably put sod down. It's like, this is a nice empty lot. I'm gonna sell it.
Yeah, man. I wish that's one property I wish I was equipped to deal with because it was a nice area. Like right, you can see the big wall. Mm-hmm. You can see it by the house, like when you're in the house.
And there's been a lot of changes in like laws and code and stuff like that over the last decade or so. Do you think in the next 10 years these strategies still going to be around, wholesaling, flipping, the way that we know it?
I honestly think it's already changed the way when we were really active. I think it has changed simply because social media got so much more advanced, and then AI is so. I think if we make the adjustments, because things are changing. If we make the adjustments, I think we're not going to be left behind. But if we don't stick with how the market is moving, especially not even the market itself, is the tools now that are
AI is crazy.
AI is killing. And with me, I think my fiance is she has a master's in AI. So my thing is I want her to learn that aspect. If I'm going to get back to wholesaling, it's because it's so easy because she's an expert at that. So you just have to kind of.
I just went to a podcast summit this last week, the end of last week, me and my videographer, and they had an AI. The lady talking about AI blew my mind. Like I'm sitting here like, hey, ChatGPT, write me this Instagram caption. And I heard everybody say, if you're using chat and all these things just to talk and give you answers, like you're not even using it. Like you shouldn't be using it. So she showed us some stuff and I went home after that, or back to the hotel after that, created my first AI agent.
Yeah.
So now I got my AI agent scanning my emails, emailing and texting me whenever something pop in that's important. 4 times a day. I didn't check my email once today.
Have you ever gotten into a phone call with your boys or your friend or a colleague that the colleague would tell you, I never talked to you?
Mm-mm.
Like you're talking to them with the same voice, sounds exactly the
Yeah,
same. They
AI.
they will like some banter, some they I promise you, it is scary.
Yeah,
So that's why I want her to focus on. If she can get to that point, because she's a software engineer, so most of her job will be structured kind of like that, and then with a little bit of AI splash,
hmm
like an extra to be able to get
I
more.
think it's gonna make a lot of people a lot of money and save people a lot of time.
No, it really. I think that might be the only reason why I still wholesale. I buy my house to keep, and then I'm getting them so easily come because we did some work, man. I used to
Yeah.
write letters.
Handwriting
I
letters.
used to have my students
The
write letters. They used to go in a sweatshop I have.
the investors I used to work for used to buy boxes of pre-printed letters by like the 5,000 at a
Oh,
time.
the one that you
The red
the one
letter.
that you quit.
The
You
red,
quit.
yeah, the one that I quit. The red letters, and had somebody write the person's name, their sale date, and like the foreclosure details, handwritten,
That's what I did.
and send them out. They were spending $15,000 a month on mail, postage, sending out.
Like,
But while I was there, they closed 300 transactions, maybe.
yeah,
So it was definitely worth it to them.
yeah.
Um, so wrapping it up, because we could go on and talk
Forever, man.
for hours. If somebody wanted to start, what would be your one recommendation? Wholesale and flipping, say, if you wanted to get into this is what I recommend.
I mean, if somebody's gonna be fully in and they wanna be an investor, 100%, I'll tell them to go wholesale. 100%, right? Because wholesale makes it so much easy for you to transition. Because you're gonna acquire a nice home for cheap. Then you might just be like, "Eh, let
It,
me see."
it gives you more flexibility
It does.
on exit strategies.
It give one of the exit strategy you will add to it will be rehab it.
Yeah.
So you can maximize on the money or just keep it for whatever you want to do with it. But it will be one extra exit strategy if you go to wholesale starting off, right? That's what I would advise anybody. Just go find you a good mentor, like you, and then see what you can do. And again, with real estate, I think there's there's a factor, a low factor of luck into it, and then 90% of it is who you are. Like when you go to a room, first of all, are you getting up every week or weekend to go network? And when you are networking, do you have the charisma to have somebody want to deal with you? Because I think that's one thing I was gifted with. Like I told you, one of the best realtor I ever met was a lady called Dundee. Structure. She knows her stuff. She's quick and efficient, but she didn't do too well in terms of money made. But I promise you, there's nobody that was better than her. But I know people. I know a lot of people who did a lot better than her simply because they able to.
They present themselves better. They're more attractive. They're more charismatic.
Especially the charismatic part.
I think a lot of people can get messed up in this game thinking that because you sell a lot of real estate, that makes you a good real estate agent.
No,
We're in South Florida. Everything is shallow and it's about looks and the appeal. Like if I pulled up in a 1999 Honda Civic or I pull up in a 2026 Mercedes, you're gonna probably want to deal with the guy that pulled up in the Mercedes.
even though they know nothing.
But I can know exactly.
No, you
The guy in the
definitely
Mercedes
will.
know nothing. I know everything in my Honda Civic, but you're gonna go with the guy
No,
in the Mercedes because the perception, if he got a Mercedes,
That's me.
he's
Doing,
successful. He knows
doing
what he's
good.
doing.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, that's probably across the board in anything you're doing. A person who looks apart tend to even regularly when somebody work out, you like somebody who's sloppy, who's not up to par. The person who looks a little, you can tell they put some work in.
Mm-hmm.
That usually translates to discipline and consistency and things that you need to succeed in real estate. And to me, when I used to go to those meetings, I really feel like every conversation I had I left somewhat of an impact, right? The reason why I know this, when I make the follow-up call, they're like, oh yeah, I remember you. Either through my accent
Right.
or something, or I was suit up in every meeting, so I'd be the only one who suits up, right? And I used to wear suspenders and stuff. They're like, oh yeah, the guy with the suspenders, oh the Haitian guy,
The Haitian guy.
Haitian John.
All right. So tell people how to reach you if they want to call you with questions, or maybe they have a deal that they don't know what to do and just need some advice.
I'm Jean Bounache from Bounache Homes and BounacheHomes.com. And you can reach me at 954-991-0342. And usually I will be the one answering. If I don't answer, it will be transferred to me, and I will screen the calls and make sure that it's something that I can get into. But I'm easygoing, and if I can talk real estate all day, every day. So if I'm talking to somebody, as long as we're talking real estate, we can talk. I'm not somebody who's kind of like, well, I'm not one of those. Like, oh, you're not worth my time. If it's real estate related, I'm game.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right, guys, it's been another episode of the Free and Clear podcast where we cut through the noise and talk all things real estate. I'm your host, Will Jones. See you guys again next week.
Thank you for watching the Free and Clear Real Estate Podcast. Subscribe for new episodes, expert insights, and weekly industry conversations. Powered by Elevate Title.